so much for joining us today. We appreciate you coming out this early, and we are very excited to have some fantastic panelists here today to join us for our Eyecare Business Retail Strategies panel here at the Optometric Management Symposium. So my name is Erinn Morgan, and I am the Editor-in-Chief and Editorial Director of Eyecare Business Magazine. If you are not familiar with Eyecare Business, this is us. We are a monthly national magazine that we go out to eye care professionals across the country every month. And we have lots of issues here in the front if you would like to grab one and take one home. And you can also check us out at eyecarebusiness.com. So, and we are also streaming our panel live on Facebook today. So if anybody wants to go viral, you can come up in front of the camera. And we get really great engagement. We have on all our social media channels, we have over 30,000 eye care professional followers. And we get incredible engagement on our Facebook lives. So we're excited to be streaming live. And for anyone out there watching around the country, around the world, we are here live in Orlando, Florida today, at the Optometric Management Symposium at the Eyecare Business Retail Strategies panel. So why are we here to discuss retail strategies and for eye care professionals, and why do eye care professionals, all you folks, need those retail strategies? And it's something that we survey our readers on Eye Care Business regularly. We send out great surveys on a monthly basis, and we're constantly asking for pain points and what are the biggest competitive pressures, and we hear over and over and over again, that there are so much competition today, and online competition in particular is a huge concern that we've seen our readers tell us. So we are going to cover all of that today and go through our panel and get some really great retail strategies for all of you. So just a quick question for the audience, and I like to do this, we do a lot of presentations at Vision Expo, and we like to kind of get an idea of who is in the audience. So can you just raise your hand if you're an optometrist? Awesome. And can you raise your hand if you're an optician? Great. And can you raise your hand if you are working in optical, practice or beyond? Great. Well, thank you all for joining us. It's nice to see a great mix of folks. We're going to go through and introduce our panelists now, and that's our next slide here. So we'll start on this side down here with Bridgitte, and sorry, I can't see the screen, so tell me if something looks wrong up there. But first here on my right is Dr. Bridgitte Shen. She is an optometrist and co-owner of Vision Optique in Houston, which is a very high-end, high-touch, high-tech practice. And Bridgitte is a very well-known optometrist. She's a speaker, she's a company board member, and she is also the founder of a very cool company called iTravelCE, which I'm learning more about. But she does continuing education during travel to Asia. So it's kind of an immersion in the culture along with getting your CE credits. So that sounds like a lot of fun. And next to Bridgitte here is Dr. Wright. And both Bridgitte and Eric are regular contributors to Eye Care Business. They both write columns for us on a regular basis. And Eric is the optometrist and owner at Complete Family Vision Care in San Diego, which is a very high-grossing practice. He's also a well-known optometrist, company advisory board member, speaker, recurring award winner for best practices. So we're honored to have both of these optometrists join us today. And then here to my left, and I'm pulled back so that you can see everyone here, is Alessando Baronti. He is the president of Rigo, which is a subsidiary of the global eyewear company Rigo. And Rigo is based in Southern California, and Alessandro has come on as the president almost a year now, since he's been named president. He is his former position was Luxottica VP of Industry Relations and Education for the US and Canada, so Alessandro has a real great focus on education for eye care professionals. And then next to Alessandro is Ed Beiner, who has 11 gorgeous high-end retail stores here in Florida. There is 2 in Orlando, and 1 in Disney. Is that correct? Yes. So even here, right here in Disney, if you get a chance to check it out, it's in Disney Springs. Okay, great. And Ed also has a long tenure in the industry, amazing retail presence, and also he has his own eyewear line that he designs under the Edward Beiner Eyewear name. And then next to Ed is Steve Wright, who we're thrilled to have here as well. He is the President and Chief Commercial Officer of Safilo North America, which is a subsidiary of Safilo Global, which is also, I'm sure you all know, a global eyewear company based in Italy. And he is also the former President of Omnichannel Solutions at VSP, President of Altair Eyewear in the past, and also Senior VP of the Americas at Marchand. So a long history in the eyewear industry. So a lot of great background here at the table. We're thrilled to have everyone. Thank you all for joining us. Okay, so our next slide. So this is a bit from our research, a bit from the Vision Council's research, and a bit from Euromonitor International. So as I was saying, we do all this great research, and in our most recent study that we put out, we asked eyecare professionals, what is your biggest business concern? And we got overwhelmingly online eyewear sales. I mean, this is, a huge pool of eyecare professionals. This is what they're telling us. 45% of respondents, and we had a long list of, what are your business concerns? 45% said online sales were their biggest business challenge and concern. And that's up quite a bit. We asked that same question every year, and from 2016, it was 30% of ECPs told us that was their biggest concern. So that concern seems to be growing. So as you can see from these stats, the first one is Euromonitor International, 2.5 billion eyewear and contact lens sales online in 2017. That's up from 2.1 billion in 2016. And then these are, according to the Vision Council, online RX eyewear sales, the percentage of total RX eyewear sales from all channels this year is at 4.2%, and that's up from 3% is what they pegged it at in 2017. And then just in the first quarter 2018, the Vision Council tells us that 3.45 million RX frames were sold in Q1 online, and that's up 8.1% from Q1 in 2017. Sorry, that number is incorrect on the slide. It should be up 8.1% from 2017. So obviously, it's growing, it's mimicking clearly what's happening in the overall retail world, and we're seeing online sales grow there, and we're seeing brick and mortar stores, and we've all seen what happened to Sears, and there's a lot going on out there. The retail titans of the past have had to readapt and change, and it's even just in 2017, U.S. retail e-commerce sales were a whopping $111.5 billion in online sales for retail overall. So obviously there's a reason why there's concern out there on so many levels. So I'm going to play you a video here. It's just a short one. But obviously, we all know Warby Parker. They have certainly made a name for themselves since they launched in 2010. And eyecare professionals, there are a lot of online players out there now today beyond Warby Parker, but they are probably the most well-known one. And they have obviously launched a lot of brick and mortar stores, and they say they have plans to reach 100 stores this year by the end of the year. So I'll just share with you, this is a video of the co-founder and co-CEO of Warby Parker, Neil Blumenthal, and he's just kind of explaining a bit of the backstory of why they launched and what their focus was.
We were able to start Warby Parker with $120,000. That enabled us to build a website, get some PR support, and purchase our initial inventory of frames. I remember launch really vividly. It was February 2010. We made it live February 15th. We didn't tell our friends or family because we didn't know the website would work. Immediately the orders started pouring in. We hit our first first year sales targets in 3 weeks, sold out our top 15 styles in 4 weeks, and accumulated a wait list of over 20,000 people. We had to start cutting class because we were full-time students at Wharton at the time, getting our MBAs. It was really crisis management. We had orders coming in. We actually didn't have enough inventory to fulfill those orders. We had to think about a communication strategy, a customer service policy. We would just profusely apologize, but also explain to people what was going on. We just launched. We didn't expect to have this much demand. And when you tell people the details, they can have patience and they can understand and sympathize. Brands build relationships with customers much like human beings build relationships with other human beings, and that's through vulnerability. Our first store was actually my apartment. We laid out the glasses on the dining room table, and that was our first foray into learning about the bricks and mortar world. So we did a pop-up, we bought an old yellow school bus, ripped out the interior, and turned it into a mobile store. Went to over 15 cities across the country. In each city, we would be in roughly 3 locations, so we could tell you which intersection performed best for us. So suddenly we had a roadmap for where to open stores. We now have 46 stores across the country. It's really been an important part of Warby Parker's growth. We founded Warby Parker to create a company that would do good in the world. At the very beginning, we committed to distribute a pair of glasses for every pair that we've sold, and we've now distributed several million pairs of glasses to people around the world. We've always believed in aggressive but sustainable growth. There's this mentality of move fast and break things. We believe in moving fast, but move fast deliberately. When you break things, let's make sure it's not catastrophic. By staying focused and reducing complexity as much as possible, you can actually grow faster, longer. We're trying to build a company that's going to be around for the next 100 years.
All right, and obviously that video is old.
Alexa, play Weekend.
Sorry, dear folks. There we go. That video is from 2016, so obviously they have doubled the amount of stores they have in 2 years, with the goal of 100 by the end of this year. Okay, let's get to our next slide. But so obviously Warby Parker is a known name, but there are many other players out there. The Vision Council tells us that some of the top 5 includes Zenni Optical, Coastal, EyeBuyDirect, Glasses.com plus Warby Parker. And obviously there's many others trying to mimic that. We even just recently saw a new kids online, I think it's called Pair, and they're focusing specifically on the children's market for online eyewear sales. So, again, there are lots of other competitors out there. There's new brick and mortar concepts. We just covered it in a recent issue. The company is called Ollie Quinn, and they are out of Canada, and they're a new chain that is focusing on the millennial market and really reaching that, kind of price mentality and the way they like to buy, and they're expanding into the US now as well. Obviously, there's also chain stores and big box discounters that are trying to kind of reinvent themselves, and then others, we've seen the emergence of CVS and Walgreens into optical, which is interesting to watch as they develop that concept. So, this is a lot of stuff to think about, but there is really good news. We talk to Eyecare professionals every day, and we interview optical experts all the time, and the consensus really is that it is a high touch, high customer service area that you need to be with the person. That's why Warby Parker has launched all these stores. And the Eyecare professional has that built in. It's just right there for you. And we see a lot of folks taking that and making it their own in really unique ways. We recently interviewed Black Optical in Oklahoma, and they have like a really unique, they're a super high-end, very cool business, optical sales, and they launched a very unique online sales component for their business that they wanted to compete with that or offer that convenience for their customer. That, if there's some people just want to buy online. They want that convenience, or they go into the store and then they want to buy it online later. We've also interviewed, we did a feature recently on Dr. Bimal Patel, who is in Houston as well, and he offers concierge eye care service where you have the entire experience with him. So he brings you in, you get an eye exam, and then you can choose if you would like an eye mask with your eye exam. And then afterwards he takes you out and he himself does the eyewear fitting, and if it's after hours you can have a cocktail or a glass of wine. It's just a very nice experience, and that's how he has differentiated himself. So, and obviously our panelists here today will have some really amazing insights, as they all do very innovative things to remain competitive today. And enough of me talking, so we'll launch into our questions for our panelists. The first is going to we'll cover a couple different areas, but the first is going to cover the competitive landscape. So this is an inside look at how our panelists view today's unique competitive optical market landscape. So we will start with ladies first, with Bridgitte. And that's good.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for being here. So the first question I have for you is, why is today's optical marketplace so competitive? Is there room in the market for all the companies, the online, the chain, the big box, and the independent eye care professional as well?
Okay, so this is year 2018. So the reason that the optical market is so competitive, I think it's 3 reasons. Number one, it's access and experience. Patients today are consumers. They've always been consumers, but we no longer have the captive audience because they don't have to just buy glasses and contact lens from us. There's so many options. And with the internet, the access to information, it's fast, it's easy, it's open. And a lot of the online opticals, the online competitions, offer patients an experience that many traditional optometrist offices do not offer. And number 2, I think it's because of the digitally connected lifestyle that we live in. Many of us, including all of us in the room, we share a percentage of our life online. So the selfie-driven culture, the active social media users, they want a completely different experience. And I think number 3 is it's very important for the optometrists, especially those optometrists with the retail optical, to realize that today the patients are consumers, and the medical need of the patients bring the patients in. But we actually need to treat them both as patients and consumers, so the doctors need to focus more on the retail side of things and educate the patients, or the consumers are coming in, on why we prescribe certain things. Focus on the education, tell the patients why, and share the benefits. And I think there's an area to grow for everyone, including optometrists.
Great feedback. Thank you very much. So the next question I have, I'd like to pose to both Steve and Alessandro, who have a very broad view of the market because they deal with a lot of eye care professionals and a lot of their customers, and so they're seeing things on a broader basis. So we can start maybe with Steve. And Steve, how is this competition reshaping the industry? How is it reshaping the eyewear and eye care arena today?
So I would say that you guys, everyone's faced competition in their entire experience as professionals. You know what the competition is, your local competition and national. It's the disruptive competition now and the consolidation that's occurring that's really changing the dynamics of that type of competition. When you start to look at it, more and more people, the bigger organizations with private equity and such, are starting to try and influence a different outcome by consolidating their businesses and creating a business model that better mimics what retail does, and that's on the supply chain side, on the inventory management side, on the office strategy side. And so as an independent or small operator independent, you've got to look at those characteristics. How can you use data in your business to drive decisions? You know, you're typically, when you go into these smaller locations or multiple locations, they operate because there's a medical need as a clinician and a doctor, and then there's the business need. And you need to be the CEO of business. So you're really running two separate businesses. And to be able to understand the dynamics of both of those, the needs of both of those, and serve the customer in both of those environments are key. The optical market continues to grow. It's now a market share shift, which is the issue. And so engaging in social media, making sure that the patient experience as you engage them in their patient journey in your office is critical. And then how to differentiate yourself in this market as it consolidates and then the technology continues to try and be a disruptive force. You've got to figure out how you can be have a seat at the table during that disruption so that you're not on the menu for sure.
Great analogy.
Good morning. So I want to add to that because I completely agree with everything that Steve has said, and competition is good. The industry has never been as competitive as it is today. And the reason why, because there is a clear understanding that the industry is extremely profitable compared to other retail and medical environment. And there is a huge white space in the industry. As a matter of fact, if you're wearing glasses right now, can you please take your glasses off for just a second? How do you feel without your glasses? And I want you to think about how many people today, just in North America, don't have the opportunity of the experience to have that understanding on how a pair of glasses can enhance their lifestyles, both for a visual need, but also as a fashion accessories, not only to look better, but also to feel better. So there is a huge white space. So this competitive landscape environment, what it's doing for all of us is forcing us to really step outside of our comfort zone, reinvent ourselves, and really start to discover new ways of doing things. We heard a couple of examples already. And so I think it's a huge positive because there is definitely job security for all of us in this room, I can tell you that. Online business is not going to put any of us out of business. Again, it's going to force us to reinvent ourselves in what we do or what we can do better. If there is one word that you can take home after this symposium that can really, really change the landscape of your business is the word experience. I think it's really based on that. And really find your own battlefield, your own specialty. I can tell you that if you're trying to specialize yourself into a value field, most likely you're going to lose that battle, right? Also, if you're going to be afraid of the online business, you're probably going to lose that battle. But I can tell you that if you start to implement, for example, an omni-channel experience in your practice, now you can compete online. And I think that's the positive of the evolution of a competitive environment. So you can choose to have a practice that operates in the past, the present, or the future. And I say this in many of the seminars that I have done throughout my entire career. Today, if you operate in the present, you're too slow. If you operate in the past, you can compare yourself to a Sears or to a Macy. You don't want to be that type of a company, right? If you operate in the future, now you can compare yourself to an Apple type of organization. So you always have to think ahead, not be afraid of the competition, use the competitive environment to be a stimulator for you to think more and do things outside of the box.
Great feedback. Thank you, Alessandro. So I'll move it over to Eric and to get the eye care professional and the optometrist perspective. So, you know, you speak with a lot of other optometrists, you know a lot of folks out there. You know, what do you feel is the consensus? You know, what is this reality of competition really affecting them, or is it, you know, concerning? What's your overall view?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for being here. And as you are in the audience and actually up here, listening to, you know, I have already learned so much. Just understanding the competition we have right now is fierce. It's the worst it's ever been. But we've said that all along because we're changing. And what Alessandro just said, life is changing. So we know the competition is really fierce right now. We know we have to do something. We cannot practice the way we did 5 years ago. It's evolving. We are constantly having to change, and the future, I feel, is absolutely bright because we have to look into the future and how we practice. You know, we are practicing more medical, but we can't forget our roots. The roots, the optical side, the contact lens side. So, but we have to practice different. And the one thing I feel that I've been blessed with in my practice, and hearing Bridgitte talk, is we have to do something different. We have to be different than the chains, than the box. And how we can be different is patient experience. You know, one of the things that I really try to practice the way is every one of my patients is my family. I treat them as family. You know, a lot of them, I hug them when they come in. They've been patient, even if they're fairly new. I go out, I introduce, because if we treat them as family, the thing that I always say, family doesn't leave family. Now, some of our families would want them, so that's all. But, you know, so going that direction and doing something, the patient experience is what is going to make the ECPs, the private practice doctors, survive and thrive. We need to, you know, look at them. There's a lot of things that I'm going to bring up, like doctor-driven dispensing and stuff like that. We have to listen to what our patient needs are and help them live their lives better. And you know, the future, I think, is absolutely bright. The competition will always be there. Embrace it. We can learn from that competition and think of what Warby Parker is doing, but look at what they're not doing. And that's where we can thrive. So I know it's a fierce environment right now, but I feel the future is the brightest it's ever been. There is so much technology coming out in the next days, weeks, months, years, on the medical side, on the contact lens side, on the lens design side, on the just technology, and that's what's going to make it so exciting.
It's a great point, and we at Eyecare Business, you know, we see all the new technology coming, and I feel like I've never seen this much lens technology coming out on like a weekly basis. I mean, there's so much out there to keep the patient engaged and excited, and I think there's a lot of options for independent eye care professionals today. And that is actually your comment was fantastic, and it's a great segue to the question I have for Ed, which, so we have had here before at OMS a presentation. I know that he gives it at other conferences. David Friedfeld from Clear Vision Optical gives a presentation that revolves around why you should love Warby Parker. Like it's, you know, it's a positive thing. So Ed, what's your sense? Is there anything positive about all this increased competition?
Yes, it keeps you on your toes, it makes you look forwards, and it forces you to look forwards. I love chocolate, but chocolate doesn't make me feel too good. So there's a lot of competition out there. We know about the big boxes, they've been around for a long time. We know of other competitors, big chains that have been there. And Warby Parker is a disruptor, but we, in our own practice, we have 3 of them near us. A couple of friends that I have talked to and that have also Warby Parkers near them, their business have all increased. And I think the keyword here is experience. We've heard it from the other panelists here. And the consumer today wants to be taken care of. They want to be part of a community. They want to be part of a family, as Eric said earlier. If you treat them and care for them as your own, when you sell a pair of glasses, when you do an eye exam, you ask them the right questions, you connect with them. These are people that are going to be coming back to you for many, many years. We have 11 locations. We try to hire people that really can connect with other human beings, just not technicians. And that's a key in running a retail business. We talked about profits in the retail consumer today rules, and being able to serve them by facilitating their lives online, facilitating their lives making the doctor's appointment, facilitating their lives once they're inside the shop, using new techniques that are able to educate the consumer along with what you can explain to them, makes a world of difference. Lastly, find, I think it was Alessando that mentioned it, find your niche, stick to it. If you're good at it, don't let these things scare you. I've been in business, I don't want to say how many years because I feel very old every time I say it, but I remember when 1 hour service came about, and there was started I think with iLab, but they spread, there were hundreds of them popping up all over the state, the country, thousands of them around the country, and they were supposed to knock us out of business, and we're still around. And by the way, we don't see any more 1 hour services around. I don't see too many around anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong. You know, that was LASIK. LASIK was supposed to knock us out. That didn't do it either. And today we're facing online competition. We need to understand it. We need to partake in it and move forwards. And I think there's opportunity for all of us to grow. And the future, I think, is very bright. And there are more people. There's 80 million. Actually, I was corrected yesterday by Bridgitte. 78 million millennials coming into the market. What a huge opportunity to sell glasses, which is what Warby Parker is doing. And for us in our practices, choose a new market that's coming in and put our wares to work.
Thank you for that, Ed. That was great feedback. And we already have so many great tips and strategies. I'm just going to end this competitive landscape section with one last question for Bridgitte. So, you know, and we've talked about this a little bit, but, you know, there is the sense that even this competition is good in the way that it has elevated eyewear. Warby Parker has brought a new cachet to eyewear. Do you feel that that is the case?
I think you just brought up what I was going to say. So Alessandro has it right on point, right? Competition is good. See competition as a way to help us to grow. What do a lot of us with an optical need to improve? Patient experience. So use competition to see what can we learn from them so we can improve our patient experience. So every patient we've connected with who are coming in, we don't give them a reason to go shop somewhere else, right? And number two, I'm going to turn a bit medical here, right? I think all these online competitions it's excellent because they're raising the general public awareness. Number one, it's cool to wear glasses. Number two, you need to have an entire eyewear wardrobe to match your active lifestyle. So I actually brought, this is just part of my own collection. I brought 7 pairs of glasses on this trip. I'm here for 48 hours, right? I brought 7 pairs of glasses and 5 pairs of shoes.
I was going to say, how many shoes?
And that's my shoe bag right there, right? So let me give you an example. It's happening, it's not just on the optical side. Okay, all of us who are optometrists in this room know what Xiidra is. When Xiidra came out in 2016, the second prescription eye drop to treat dry eye disease, everyone thinks, oh my gosh, Restasis has been out since 2003, it's going to affect Restasis business. It did not. So when you have new players, it raises the entire market, right? Rising tide raises all boat. And very soon, we're going to have a 3rd prescription eye drop, Sequa, from Sun Pharma, that's going to come out in the next, within 3 to 6 months or so. So see, competition is good, and also with the general public's awareness on it's cool to have multiple eyewear, it's a great opportunity for all of us to improve what we can provide to our patients at our own offices.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, very well said. So, okay, so we'll move on to this, which I feel like we've already covered a lot in what's been discussed here, so we can kind of move through this one quickly. But Bridgitte, I'll just continue with you. And so, you know, and my question was more, our eye care professionals experience this shrinking market. You know, we've kind of covered that a little bit. Do you feel it in your business? I mean, do you see it? Do you see people saying, oh, I want an online solution, do I want the convenience? You know, what's your day-to-day experience?
To give you a little bit of background about my practice, it's entered its 20th year. My partner and I were lab partners at school. We graduated in 1998 from University of Houston Optometry School. We opened our private practice in 1999. My practice is only 1,800 square feet, 2 exam lanes, and 1 treatment room. We do have a building dry center within the practice. So a lot of you, the pain points, the challenges you face, we have the exact same challenges. So the pain points are real, but the key is what we have learned. Let me see, I was taking notes, I forgot who said it earlier, but the key is help patients understand. The key is education. We don't just give out a prescription, we need to share with the patients why we gave them this specific prescription and what benefits does this, by filling this prescription, whether it's a medical or glasses or contact lens, what benefits does it provide for the patients? Because patients are consumers. People do not know what they do not know. Whose job is it to educate them? And once they understand why, once they connect with you, and you have improved your own shopping experience on the retail side, you can capture that. And we are constantly learning and adapting and evolving and analyzing the changes we've implemented. Did it work? Did it not? And then you change again. So with today's landscape, it's very important for the doctors and opticians, those of us with the retail side of business, to learn, evolve, and change and analyze.
Yes, thank you. And the same question I had for Steve as well. Obviously, are you hearing the same thing from your customers? Are you hearing them saying we're crunched, or we need new solutions?
Obviously, the challenges that everyone faces always in constraining resources, and the biggest one is always time.
Sure.
But in being effective in your businesses, it requires you to spend a lot more time making data-driven decisions. There are tools available now that allow you to behave more like your competitors. Retailers, Google, everybody uses big data to drive their decisions. How to engage the consumer? What products do we need to deliver to the consumer? What behaviors do we need to have toward those consumers? And they're using that in a very productive way. There are tools on your own practice management systems. There are other tools out in the market that allow you to dissect your practice in very specific ways from a retail standpoint. If you look at it, since I've been at Safilo, one of my other responsibilities is Solstice. It's a retail store. They look at retail conversion rate. They look at dollars per transaction, dollars per unit. I'm looking because I don't even remember on my phone. Units per transaction, sales over traffic. These are things that our retailers are using, and in your businesses, you need to understand what those mean. What are conversion rates? And I know people talk about capture rates. We need to not let the patient walk out of our office without product. Absolutely. But how do you do that better? If you have more information in your practice that you understand about your customers, your patients, it'll help you make those decisions. Don't let them wander out in the dispensary and decide. You need to understand, what are the demographics of that patient? Your vendors should know their products as it relates to your demographics of your office. If they're coming in and simply showing wares and telling you about their brands and why they're better than the competitors' brands, but not how it relates to you and your patients specifically, challenge them. Because that is an old school mentality, and they need to know about your business to help you become successful in your business. Use tools, use data, make decisions in your practice that allow you to compete, and then engage the same tools that the other ones do, whether it's social media, no matter whatever you can do to create a differentiated experience for your patient in your office, and not that they leave there satisfied that they got care. I go to several different offices. Someone will say, "Who's your doctor?" I don't have a single doctor. I go to multiple because I want to see what the experience is like. And I usually leave there satisfied. I believe that the quality of care and the eye exam and eye care that I received was very good. It was very competent. But I don't usually leave there with something that really wowed me or made me really remember that experience. So you have to challenge yourself. What thing can you do in your practice that can differentiate with the wow type of experience. And leave your patient thinking, that was a unique experience, and want them to talk about it and come back.
Thank you. I love the wow factor. That's great. And Steve reminded me, because he's mentioned social media, we have a column that runs in every issue of Eyecare Business called the Social Media Hot List. It's on page 20 of our October issue, which I believe we have here as well. But it basically, we have, our columnist is Dr. Tanya Gill. She's an optometrist that spoke at OMS last year. She creates a social media calendar that you can use. It's just take the post, put it into your social media. It's very specific. It gives you dates that are kind of great things to, jump off of. Certain, National Brush Your Teeth Day, or, just kind of some fun things. But she creates actual images and quotes and just kind of some illustrations that you can download from our website, and you can use it on your social media. So you can, if you go to this page, you can check it out online as well, and you just click on the link and you can download all those assets and use them right on your social media channels. So it makes it very simple and turnkey. So,
Can I add something?
yes, absolutely.
It's about women supporting women. So Dr. Tanya Gill is a friend of mine. For those of you who don't know her, you may have heard of a line that she created called We Love Eyes. She is passionate about treating ocular surface disease, so she created this line called We Love Eyes. It's an eye makeup removal with an oil and a foam wash. It's great for patients who suffer from dry eyes and ocular surface disease. So look her up, We Love Eyes, that's the handle, and also her personal practice.
And it's great for Demodex and all kinds of things. We've actually,
Okay, since you mentioned the word Demodex, so
I know
last
it's a
night we
hot
were
button.
at dinner, and I freaked all the gentlemen out at the table
know
by
about Demodex.
teaching them about eyelash mites, and that conversation started with eyelash extensions. So for those of you who are still here tomorrow afternoon, I'm giving a lecture at 1:30 called Ocular Aesthetics, Capture More Patients Using the Ocular Aesthetics and Anti-Aging Eye Care Approach. And I write that column for Eyecare Business. So
And we have
join
those
us tomorrow.
issues here. Her last column was in our September issue, Ocular Aesthetics, and it's a fantastic column, really great information, and you have wonderful charts with statistics and information in there. And we have it here at the show, so if you go to the front reception, they'll have the issues there if you'd like to check one
So
out.
if you plan to come to the lecture tomorrow, please grab the September issue, because the answers are already in that issue. I want you to have a physical copy of it.
Great, thank you. So, I'll just move the next question to Ed. And I know, Ed, we've had this conversation before where you've seen customers come in and, scan the eyewear, and then, they're just kind of scanning it to go purchase it online or trying it on, and, the showrooming effect. So do you still see much of that? Is that still an issue?
So, yeah, I think that partially is an issue. I think the important part to this is training of your employees and being able to connect with the consumer when they're taking that picture, or why they're taking the picture. Can we communicate what they're looking for? Can we ask them what lenses, what frames, what styles are they looking for? Because at the end of the day, as a friend of mine said, it's all about them. So technology is there, it's disruptive, but communicating, asking the questions, finding out their needs, and being able to tell what is available, I think it's important. I would like to add that these gentlemen always, and other companies around, just those are the ones that are present at the moment, but they are willing to train the staff. They're always asking us, and I'm sure all of you, if you want to have a training, product training, lens training, with different companies out there, your own labs that you're working with, because it's in their own interest to make sure that the optician, the optometrist is educated. So I highly recommend that you connect with your vendors, be able to get that, so that when the picture moment comes up, we are able to connect with that consumer and be able to sell overall, we're living in a disruptive environment. It's not only the pictures, it's telemedicine. There's chances now of doing eye exams without a doctor in the room, right? We have the demographic issues and we have the online issues. But they're all not only solvable, they're all opportunities. So again, things are improving. They look a lot better than they did, let's say, a few years ago. And even the Warby Parker consumer, we are noticing that as these younger consumers are getting older, they're coming into their 30s, they're dropping their $100 eyeglasses and they want to upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing them coming to our stores now and looking for different and better eyewear.
Absolutely, better quality, higher quality. Yes, that's great to hear.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Okay. So it's one of my slides. I know this because I had my young doctor search of the numbers. So millennials, right? We talk about millennials so much, but guys, we need to focus on Gen Z. Gen Z is 83 million. The generation younger than millennials. And what is this generation growing up with? Digital devices. So digital eye strain education and prevention. Start putting all the kids that you see today, educate them about the benefits, and parents want to know. And we have all these great innovations from all the major lens companies. So focus on the 83 million Gen Z today. Give them education, give them protection. And they will grow up to be, by the time they come of age, they're not going to go to all the cheap innovations, the cheap product that don't have the protections in them.
Good point. And Alessandro, just a quick question on price. So, because we've covered a lot of the other, things here, obviously the Warby Parker effect was the low price and the convenience. So are you seeing that there's price resistance at the customers that you deal with? How are they?
Comes to pricing structure. So we need to do a better job in educating your patient throughout the entire process. and to go fill that prescription somewhere else. This is a big problem because when you do that, you lose the control of the experience. I go back to the experience. And folks, if something happens at the end, it's going to affect the entire experience from the beginning. And then you become the bad doctor because you don't have control on the experience. So I really want you to think about how can you grab that experience, keep that patient not only in your medical lane,
leads me to, I have one last question for Eric in this section of our talk, and that I'm going to kind of ask you to seg a little bit into the doctor-driven dispensing because that ties in so well with what Alessandro is talking about. But just looking to the future, kind of what's your view of, you know, how competition will affect you and your peers and other folks in the industry, eye care professionals, and how does that doctor-driven dispensing complete that experience that Alessandro is talking about?
Okay, thank you. First of all, this is so cool, guys. I am pumped. I am really excited about the future. And what you're hearing, you know, there's a couple things. One, the wow factor is so important. Is one of the things that we all have to do is take that technology. One of the things that what I do in my practice, when I'm doing an exam, you know, I do an OCT on every patient because and then I show them, because one thing that's going to cover my butt so I don't miss anything. But also I want that wow factor. I want that patient to see what I'm looking at. And then, you know, I have a 90% acceptance for the Optos. So we do Optos in everyone. And I go over it because I want them to have a wow factor why I'm different than everybody else in the boxes. Because Costco's not going to take that time. The 3 O's, the ECPs, we own computer vision syndrome. We own it, and we have to continue to own it. And how we're going to continue to own it is teach our patients why this is going on. And one of the things that I'm going to talk, for the next 4 hours about is doctor-driven dispensing. This is the key to what we're all saying. Is we have to, when that patient is in the exam room, take the time and prescribe what they need. We know what their lifestyle is. We know that they're going to need pairs of glasses and contacts for different things. Don't give them a choice like, oh, you know, I'll let my optician in the world, but wait till the iPhone 48 or 75 or 382 come out. That's where it's going to get exciting. So, yes.
Dr. White, I wanted to take a minute. I'm actually the speaker at 1 o'clock today, and you're in my presentation. I don't even think you know that.
You can
actually, I'm going to be Epcot. No,
one of the things I think, Alessando, I know that we've done a lot of work on this topic together, but one of the things I think is so impressive about this panel too that you guys have put together is focusing on that experience and not knowing that I've had my online and talking about. It's not the other things we expect them with our marketing to talk about. You've done such a great job. I just wanted to commend you.
No, thank you.
From
Thank
someone
you.
that you probably don't know, you're in my presentation.
And I appreciate it. Thank you. But and this is what granted, and we could be pessimists, but I have never been a pessimist. I'm always in a good mood and all that good stuff, because I know what the future is, and it is incredible. What do we do I'm going to stop in a second. But what do we do all day long is we help people see better. We help them live their lives better. This is why optometry is the greatest profession. This is why the eyeball world is so important, is we help people live their lives better, period.
Amen.
Okay,
All right, nice job.
But thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to examples of success. Oh, we have a question. Thank you.
Never mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you if this is going to be open to discussion, because as
Absolutely.
a practitioner, I have two pretty successful private practices, and for myself and my colleagues, I can vouch that we definitely spend a lot of time we make our opticians help us with that transition. And we have weekly meetings, daily meetings, and it's so challenging. Everybody knows how hard it is to get a fantastic optician. I mean, it's probably the most desired industry, and how well they're paid for the good ones. And how do we, will we have opportunity to actually talk about specific? I know what I'm doing is correct, but I want to make sure the transition, the experience you said about in the office is smooth. And how do we accomplish that? How do we educate our opticians to make sure that what we just said, it just emphasize? I mean, I can sound like a broken record myself. Every day, how many things we repeat on every single day, what they need to do, how they need to ask the patients, what they do throughout the day. I understand that, but it just doesn't happen. So,
No, and I appreciate what you're saying, but and this is where, because we're not going to capture every patient. I pray we do, but reality. But one of the things that this goes back to the doctor-driven dispensing. I prescribe it from the exam chair. Kind of what I've always thought, if you say something 3 times, they might remember it. So in the exam chair, I prescribe what they're going to get. I don't recommend it. I prescribe it because, I prescribe an exam room. I go out to, and I, not literally in today's world, grab an optician, but the optician, I walk out to this dispensing. I repeat. I say, Mary's here. I am prescribing this, this, and this, and this is why I am doing it. With her lifestyle, this, and this. So that's the second point. Then I'm standing there, and granted, everybody says, okay, this is going to take, it takes a minute, but the capture rate goes up. Is then the optician looks me in the eye and repeats exactly what I just said to the patient. Mary, Dr. White prescribed this. We are going to get you this, and this is why. the third time, it kind of sinks in like, okay, this is going to help me. This isn't they're trying to sell me. And, you know, but again, then I walk away and they go, "Can I have my prescription?" You know, that happens. But I have found that if you do it that three-point step, they're going to be more apt. And also, that's why we have great frames. We have great selection. I have phenomenal staff, and you know, all that good stuff that we can prescribe to our patients to help them live their lives better.
I would like to add to that. Actually,
I was just going to say, can I answer that from a passionate veteran optician?
Yes.
It's really important
Please do.
just to really support your opticians and make sure that they're getting the best education
Absolutely.
that they possibly can, and that they understand the products, and that you work with them, and that they know you support them, that you want them to have the great product training, and that they know that there's a difference between all the different brands that you're offering. And sometimes it's simple as just supporting one particular brand, because with each brand, there's so many different choices, and you're simplifying it for them as well. But just knowing that you definitely stand behind them and train them. There's such a big difference in all the different products that are out there between the different brands that are there that
So
it's
much.
so overwhelming. And I just think knowing that a doctor that's behind an optician versus someone that kind of puts them off, they're not going to work with your prescription as well. So,
Absolutely.
For sure,
Absolutely.
for sure. And I'm just going to mention, and then we'll come to more questions, but I'll just mention real quickly that I think it was the second, so online eyewear sales was our number one concern from ECPs. Number two was staff training, and that they felt that they needed more and more and more. And we actually, in this same issue that I just showed you, we made an entire staff training guide for existing employees, opticians, and it is really comprehensive and provides charts and kind of a breakdown for a whole year for how the training, and we tapped into a bunch of experts to pull that together. But the training is, we hear it over and over again, how critical it really is. And I think there is a sea of product out there. Even on the frame side, you know, there's a lot of technology. We talk a lot about lenses and contact lenses, but there's so much going on in frames. It's so hard to keep up with everything. So I'm sorry, there was another question here. Yes?
Okay, I was going to say something. There are tools available for the opticians to use to carry on these services.
Yes.
Okay. I want to say, I sell one of these.
Oh, okay.
Smart mirrors.
And I'm very similar to that product.
And you do? Okay,
Well,
great.
It endorses that product, but you know, a lot of people don't realize that this is a great product. Okay, what optometrist wants to do is earn as much money as possible. Everybody wants to earn as much money. But if you educate them on eye care and you show them why this costs so much, this is what you should have, it makes life easier.
For sure, and you bring that high-tech factor in. Yes.
The comment about the opticians. I'm an optician, so and that's how I started in the industry a lifetime ago. I find that we are extremely good in the technical end of it, and we know what to tell the consumer, how the glasses are going to fit, what they're going to experience, and what lenses to use, and so on. But the ability to do sales, it's an art. It's an art form. So the question is sometimes, who could you bring into the office that has that sales ability? He might be an optician, he might not. But who can you bring into that environment to create a smoother process in the sales floor? And many times opticians will follow and understand because they really haven't had a mentor. The school doesn't teach us that. So I highly recommend mixing up sometimes the environment inside the office with a good retailer.
Great point. I saw other questions. Okay.
I was just to your point of finding a good match for sales. We actually have two opticians, and I just joined the eye care world. I've been in management my entire career, but anyway, that's a whole other thing. But I made some adjustments because sales was where we were lacking in the practice I
You
worked
have that
for.
outside perspective.
And so we have two, and I have adjusted things where
he likes to be quick, down, dirty, in and out fast. So our young people is where, if we can, and it doesn't always work out like that because of patient flow, but he gets people in and out.
You lose your community that way.
Well, but then we have a lady who's a little bit more experienced, and she likes to go nice and slow. She has a tendency to explain thoroughly to the point of maybe over-explaining. And we have patients, like our Medicare patients, who have nowhere to be and all day to get there. And so we've matched those things and tried to be more cognizant of the need of our patient once they come out of the exam room.
For sure.
And they kind of, it's a unique situation, and I think you mentioned it, is that they become a patient and a customer or consumer. And that's a unique thing that the transition happens so fast. It happens literally when the door opens or closes, whatever. And so we match our patients, or we try, and we've seen our sales bolster because of that.
That's great. That is very cool. And you know, some folks want a like I go in somewhere, I don't want to sit for a long time. I want to get in and out. So I like your down and dirty and go. Yeah. That's helpful. Mindy, I'm just going to ask you, would you mind to turn it for our Facebook Live folks when we have a question to the person so they can just see? So I'm sorry, I think there was a couple, right? Questions?
This lady right here.
Okay, great.
I know that it's good that you mentioned yours. I know for our office, our sales and our second pair sales and our patients taking prescriptions and then coming back has improved significantly. I don't have numbers because programs like Essilor Experts, insights that we have through Vision Source, and paying them to participate in those, going to other contact lens companies, asking the sales rep. We've got 2 new opticians, we've got a new person. I've noticed their verbiage is struggling. Could you come give them a one-on-one on a non-doctor day? And every time
A review of a Warby Parker experience in the store in Eyecare business, and our publisher back here, Mark Durick, was with me back in the corner, and he can attest to, the experience was lackluster at best, for sure. There wasn't a lot of education going on.
we have 3 patients that we kept asking for PDs and Eisen type product, and they kept, literally, the young man called me back 4 times. And I said, just one last thing, if they can't explain what you're asking us for, what, confidence do you have in this product? If you'll come back in the office, no charge, we'll educate you more on this and maybe show you some other choices.
That's great.
And he did come back. I mean, they usually don't go to that extent, but
Sure.
I mean, you guys have nailed it with this because we're definitely seeing that in our demographics.
That's great to hear. Glad that it's working. Yes.
Just a quick question. We talked a lot about online sales, the competition from retailers and things of that nature. And this is just kind of a general question to the panel. What are some strategies that practices can use to lower their cost of goods sold on frames when we're working with different frame representatives? And also, do you see value in working with a company like Vision Source that can get you better pricing to lower your cost of goods sold and increase your margins when you're competing against the Warby Parkers of the world?
Take that. Well, first of all, there is definitely a huge value in associating with any type of organization that is bringing you resources that you can use to improve your business. And without mentioning any name, because I try to be Switzerland when it comes to that, but as long as the organization brings value, that is definitely something that I would strongly suggest. You don't want to be the optometrist playing the game by yourself, trying to think that I'm too big to be associated to anybody else, because then you get disconnected. When it comes to what it can be done to really be able to improve the profitability of the practice, and I think we're going to talk more about that as we go, but my suggestion to all of you is that make sure you understand your demographic. That would be the first thing. The second thing, make sure you understand how to size your dispensary. What I can see across the board, I can see that in general you carry too many brands, you have way too many frames, and so you're killing your cash flow by having too much inventory on hand. And so really work on really monitor your KPI, key performance indicator in your practice. And really the other thing that I want to say is that you need to slow down, because to the point of the end off it's an art, right? And the introduction of electronic medical records, I think, made all of us a little lazy about the fact that now everything is electronic. We don't really prescribe anymore like in the old-fashioned way. So the end-off now comes in place even more. It's more relevant than ever before. And let me tell you, folks, if your capture rate is below 65%, why are you going so fast? Why are you going from one eye exam to another eye exam when you're actually losing all of your profit in the end-off? So slowing down the process, taking the time to really communicate better with your patient, and really making them feel special, and really sizing your business in the proper way can dramatically increase your profitability.
Erinn, can I add to that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so to answer your question, because those are the decisions I'm faced with, because I'm the managing owner. We're 1,800 square feet, completely independent. We're not part of any chain. So to help you reduce the cost of goods sold for lab, we have Essilor, we have Hoya, we have Zeiss. You choose who you want to partner with. So we signed a multi-year contract with Essilor. So that made the optician's job much simpler. You only had one company's lens to study with. And what we did is, for insurance patient, you don't have a choice. When you do fee slip, you have to do line by line. But for your private pay patients, make it simple. Value, everything together, standard package, premium package. Then the opticians only has to learn 3 lenses. You work with your lab representative, know your clientele, and decide what's best for the patient. So when the optician, from the doctors to the optician, you're presenting 3 choices. This is the premium lens, this is all the benefits and the protection that goes with it. Here's the standard, here's the value. Then you capture the 3 groups of your consumers who are price sensitive, because the patients, they don't know what they don't know. The only thing they do know, they feel like they have control over, is how much money I'm willing to spend, how much money I think I want to spend. And to add to Alessandro's part, and this lady right here, we actually print the prescriptions out. So we use office-made exam writer as I talk to the patients about the benefits. So we actually put in the actual prescription what the lenses are, what the treatments are, and it's sent to printer. So by the time I walk out with the patient, my staff that's behind the front desk hand me the prescriptions. I walk to the patient to the dispensing table, my optician's there, and then I go over his name. I have several, so I'll just use Micah, he's my manager. So okay, Micah, so I lay the 3 prescriptions out. Exactly what Eric said, we do the exact same thing. I review it, patient already heard me from one time. I review very simply, this is Ms. Smith, I'm gonna put her in this. I don't recommend, I don't prescribe. I'm going to put her in this, and this is the benefit. I review the benefits, the patient hears that again. So, and on frames, because we are, our low end, for my practice, our low end is Ray-Ban, Oakley, Moto, and Nike. Our mid-range is Dior and Chanel, Tom Ford. Our high end are Golden Wood, Tom Davies, Lenore, right? So on the designer brands, there's not much discount. I joined Perk Alliance, a buying group. So I have that. But on your bread and butter lines, the non-designer brands, ask these companies for their clearance sale twice a year. Ask for the clearance sale. Then you buy those in bulk. Because you can print the reports from your software, what style sells. Then you take that sheet when you go on these clearance sale shopping. So that's how you can reduce your cost of goods sold.
Great point. Yes.
I don't know if this is, I think it's really relative to this. So my biggest struggle is, so one of our offices in Cambridge, no problems with insurances, or for example, if somebody, does anybody have Davis Vision? Does anybody take Davis Vision? Yeah. I know, we love to talk about Davis, right? So in Cambridge, I'm next to Harvard University, the whole Harvard University has Davis Vision. No problems, you tell them, you know, I walk out, I'm prescribing. We only use, we use Safilo as well too, but usually sell just X series, the latest digital technology. You know, this is what I recommend. They pick IC Berlin, you know, $1,500 sale, done. My other office is very different, a lot of Davis Vision. So we have weekly meetings, how the two opticians are very different in terms of struggles. So the doctor comes out and says, you know, I'm sure everybody knows that Davis Vision doesn't offer the high-end digital technology, nor things such as Eyezen, Prevencia, and different things. So we try for those patients that we believe that should be in these lenses, which we sell to any self-pay patient, to be in the same lenses. So we've tried different strategies. You know, first we said, why don't we educate, we walk out the patient, do the transition. This is Amy Smith. She's had struggles in the past with other digital, with the non-standard progressive lenses. I recommend X series only. This is what it does. You know, and sometimes opticians actually do the sale, and then a week later, patient calls back, wait a minute, nobody, you know, told me. Now we're talking about the $200 sale, standard Davis Vision progressive versus the, you know, X series with IC Berlin, $1,500. So how do you justify that? I mean, it's kind of insurance, but it can ties into let's compare to the Warby Parker for the frames, and you know, insurance in terms of lenses. If anybody has any suggestions, and my optician actually got to the point yesterday. One of them sent me, and she's an excellent optician, an email, Dr. I just cannot deal with this. You know, how do we say nonchalantly, you know, this is what I recommend, and then not really focus too much about what insurance offers, what insurance doesn't offer, and then a week later we get a phone call, how come we didn't use my insurance?
So from my point of view, you never want to devalue insurance in front of your patient. No matter how bad the insurance is always the best insurance is a great benefit. So what I suggest you to do, put the first pair on the insurance and put it on the side and work on the rest. Who said that they have to buy one pair? And so I think we need to start to think bigger and to adopt a different mindset. So the first pair on the insurance, we close that transaction. Now let's talk about everything else that we need to do to be able to improve the vision and also to improve the lifestyles, right? And then you work on the numbers and increasing the number of multiple pair sales. Multiple pair sales in the optical industry nationwide are less than 7%. So think about how much opportunity we have if we can actually increase that by educating. And what Bridgitte is doing, I think, is brilliant. First of all, printing the prescription on the electronic medical records. How many of you guys are doing that? I think it's a huge learning, right? I hope everybody is going to start to do that effective tomorrow. And the fact that she's prescribing, how many prescriptions she's prescribing? 3. So she's already assuming that she's going to position 3 different pairs. One it can be for the computer use, one it can be the outdoor wear, one it can be the blue light coding. And on the top of all of the other medical treatment that she's presenting. Now, does it mean that every single patient is going to buy 3 pairs? No. Probably 50% of them are going to take the Davis benefit and they're going to use it on their eyewear, they're going to walk away, and I'm sorry, in that case you're going to lose money because I know how Davis works. So you're probably going to work on a dispensing fee, you're going to make less than $20, right? But in some cases, you offset that by positioning multiple pairs.
Okay, can I give you something more specific? What he said is absolutely right. You never say bad about another, whether it's online, another office, another doctor, or insurance, where you say, okay, but I understand your pain points. Your optician is experiencing the pain points of time, right? We only have so much time. I believe, I can't remember where I read it. You have about an hour. When patient walks through your front door to when they walk out, they expect themselves, today's consumer, they are consumers, they expect to be there for an hour. In that 1 hour, you need to do exam, and you need to go over all the medical benefit, because we have a build and dry center too, right? You gotta sell them year supply premium daily disposable contact lenses. Those patients need plain old blue light protection, they need plain old sunglasses, and they need backup glasses. And people who wear glasses, ideally you sell them 3 pairs. They're clear every day with the transition, And then there's sunglasses for outdoors, and there's specific computer glasses with all the blue light protection built in. And patients with dry eyes, we're trying to sell them these procedures that cost a lot of money. And so, but patient have insurance, so you take away the pain point, let them know with Davis Vision, we don't take it in my office because of all the pain points we experience, but we do take other insurance. This is what your insurance covers. With your insurance, this is what you're gonna get. But doctor said, explain to you with this benefit and with this additional care, so you will feel a lot less tired, so you get better quality sleep, so your night driving improves, so you don't get as tired. Focus on the benefit. We are happy to give you 20% discount. You just sell 2 pairs. And or they get the clear pair on the insurance, sell them sunglasses. In a city like Houston, you have to have quality sunglasses because we drive. We don't walk anywhere, we have to drive everywhere. I hope that helps. Take away optician's pain point, make things simple. Simplicity is key, simplicity. And also a script. We actually type the script out, make it simple. So have them memorize the script until it becomes their own language. Yes?
To further your point too, Stephen, you mentioned that I'm an optician as well, and you mentioned that as opticians we can be very technical and we're great at that, but we've never really had any formal sales training. So one thing you can find too is that once your opticians learn a little bit more, instead of talking about, well, after your copay and this and this and this from your insurance, it's going to be this amount, or the cost is this, or the price is this. You can learn, and your opticians can learn to say, after the down payment of your benefits, and your remaining responsibility is, or remove the word cost and price from eyewear, because eyewear doesn't have a cost or a price, it's an investment.
Great point. Awesome. Well, that was some really good back and forth. I'm impressed.
That's much better than just talking out.
Absolutely. So bring it on, keep it coming. But I'm gonna combine. We're kind of running a little close, so I'm gonna combine the next 2 questions that I had for our panelists, and we can kind of run down the table here. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end, and I have kind of a fun video to wrap it up with. But so basically the last 2 things here, the last 2 slides, some examples of success. So how are eye care professionals succeeding today? And then I asked each panelist to come to the table here with one takeaway strategy. Maybe there'll be more than one, but each, one or 2, innovative optical retail strategies that you guys can take today and walk away with, and how can you position your business for growth with what's going on today. So maybe we'll start down here with Steve. We'll go the opposite direction. And so Steve, combining those 2 things. So any of your customers you've seen do really innovative things, and then what's your takeaway strategy?
Right. So I would say that the core basis of all of the businesses here are that you're in the people business. You guys interact and engage people, and you have your teams that do that same thing for you. The most important thing that a leader of an organization does is they determine who should be on the bus. First of all, you got to make sure that your team, the people that are in your organization, are the ones you need in your organization. Because even if you've had somebody there for 10 years and they've been doing that work for the longest time, and they're a pain point, you have to make a change. It really starts with the people you bring in. So the number 1 job as a leader of your organization is making sure you have the right people. Once you get the right people, you have to make sure that they're on the right seats of the bus. So you put them in the right position for them to be successful and you to be successful. And then you can distill it down, because all of you have different dynamics that you're facing, unique situations relative to the people in your organizations. You're looking at cost. Cost is important. Your cost of goods is important for sure. But there's always an opportunity to get low cost things. But I can say that my grandfather used to always tell me that quality is remembered long after cost is forgotten. And so going back to then making sure that you're working for a group that, and I've seen it in the past where opticians, optometrists, the office managers, the office belongs to multiple groups. They buy from multiple groups. They belong to this group, but they buy from that group. Really research it. see where you can get greater value. What do those people offer you? What is your cost to participate in those groups? But ultimately, you can even generate your own value proposition with vendors directly, just like Bridgitte does. So cost is important, but making sure that you have the right products and the right positioning in your practice for your patients are most important. And then it's the experience. So again, the three things I can say to focus on, what you looked at your people, is then use data to make decisions. There are tools that you can use in your office to understand more about your patient's demographics and what you should be doing and how you should be presenting products to them and choices to them and educating them. And then there's engagement, technology engagement. Whether it's virtual try-on or different tools that allows you to create a different experience, or whether it's Optos, whatever the tools are from a technology standpoint, it is now you have the right people, you're making your decisions based on data, and you're creating an experience for that patient that they're going to remember. And those are key elements. How you do it is going to be unique to your own area, but those are the dimensions you need to consider. If you go out into the market, what's your most favorite retail experience? Where have you been that you like to engage the most? Is it walking through Macy's where there's piles of stuff everywhere and you're trying to find stuff? I mean, I can be critical of it, but there are people that like that. Or is it that you go out and someone takes you to the location, to these clothes, and they're a fashion stylist? So is the handoff for this person to your fashion stylist in your office that's going to take them and understand what colors they like and what colors look good on them and explain things and work in that environment? Or are you going to know that this patient is a Davis patient? They've got 4 kids in the office with them. They want to get something and they want to get out. You're not going to go over there and show them the high-priced product. You've got to understand your patients. You've got to understand the choices that you need to provide for them. And regardless of that situation, create the best experience you possibly can for them when that patient comes in.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Steve?
So Steve, taking it from where you left off, I like to think of it as a 360 communication. So you start with your not necessarily in that setup, but your website, you're communicating to your consumer. Your social media, keep that message the same. From there, you have the customer coming into your shop. Make sure that that communication continues through. Lady earlier mentioned, don't let the customer wait. Have them take care of them immediately. At the end of the day is, I believe, service. Benefit. They need to understand what they're taking home. They need to understand it's not about anti-reflective. It is about, as I learned, no glare. That is a real big takeaway I've learned 2 years ago. They need to understand the benefit. They need to have the service and great communication. I believe in the community. We do a lot of trunk shows. We do a lot of, we have beer tastings in the shop. All things that we can attract different groups. We have millennials, we have baby boomers, but we are constantly probing the market to make sure that we understand where we go. And that includes data. So within Google, the information is there where your customers are, the location, who's coming in. Keep that, combine it all, and I repeat, there is 78 million people in the market coming in that are between right now 25 and close to 40. Imagine all these progressive lens wearers in the next 5 to 10 years. We have baby boomers, they're still in the market. There is an incredible amount of money still left there. And they want to feel good, they're healthy, they're people that are active. So all I can say is go forwards and fight on.
And don't forget the 76 million Gen X.
By then I'll be gone. Oh no, the Gen X's were good.
If you thought that the millennium was a challenging consumers, wait for them, right? I have 4 strategies that I want to share with you, and for each strategy I have a training module that Erinn and Mark can share with you to the educational platform. These are 4 strategies that I would strongly suggest you to consider. The first one is integrate an omni-channel experience in your practice, both in the medical lane and the retail part of your operation. Omni-channel is a way to extend your communication from a feel and touch experience to a digital form. So having a monitor in your optical dispensary to tell a product story, to expand your physical inventory to digital inventory is going to help you to overcome an online pushback. Remember, your patient really want to buy from you, but it has to be convenient to them. In the medical lane, as a doctor, communicating with digital devices to further improve the medical experience, to help the patient understand what you're actually trying to do to really be able to improve their lifestyles by improving their vision is essential. Don't assume that they actually understand you, because sometimes we communicate too much with a doctor type of language. We need to get down to their level. That would be the first thing that I would suggest you, omni-channel integration. The second thing that I would suggest you is integrate a dispensing model solution. Today, the 1 hour service delivery of eyewear is not relevant anymore. As a matter of fact, it is perceived as a cheap service, the 1 hour delivery. Average delivery date of a lens in the industry today of a complete pair of frame and lenses is between 7 to 10 days. You are too late if you do that. You need to develop a dispensing model solution that allows you to be able to give the eyewear in the hand of your patient a complete pair in 3 days or less. And even consider sending the eyewear to your patient with a beautiful wrapping packaging, with a beautiful handwritten note, and then inviting that patient to come in and see you for the actual adjustment. Think about that. 10 years ago, Amazon philosophy was defined as insane. Why are they spending all of these millions of dollars to create all of these Dropbox location? It will never work, right? That was 10 years ago. Look at what is happening today with the Dropbox type of technology. Do you have a Dropbox outside of your practice to allow your patients to pick up the eyewear after 7 o'clock? Folks, I work every day. I go into my office at 7:30 in the morning. I get out at 6:30, and I work from Monday to Friday. Unless you're open on Saturday or Sunday, I'm not going to be able to come and see you. If I need my eyewear at 7:30 at night and your practice is locked, allow me to address the convenience factor. That's why I'm buying online, because I cannot pick up my glasses from you during business hours. So think outside the box. Less is more. Today, if you have more than 20, yes?
How do you do the Dropbox?
The Dropbox technology is available. You can look online on, it's an automatic lockbox, which can be activated with a digital combination, or you can even unlock the box with your iPhone by providing a code to your patients. I suggest you to look online. There are different options available. Less is more. Today, if you have more than 20 brands, not 20 vendors, 20 brands. If you have more than 20 brands, you have one too many. Less is more, because your patients are saying to us that I'm overwhelmed, I'm completely confused, and everything looks the same. A bunch of eyewear on the wall. So less is more. And the last point is price simplification. To Bridgitte's point, you need to reduce the options of your frame selection and your lens selection. I love what she said. She's focusing on one vendor that offers multiple selection. And then the other thing is bundle your product. Bundle your product, because it's easier when you bundle it and you're starting to make decision for your patient because you believe is the best choice for them.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, well, I just had to write all that down, so, no, thank you. This is why I love this panel. So, I have 3 points that I want to, takeaways that I do in my office that I think has really helped me to change how I practice that. One, I've already talked about doctor-driven dispensing. Try it. It is so simple. You know, the one pushback that I get from doctors, oh, it takes too long. But, in fact, we said this earlier, you know, when I slowed down, my volume or my revenue went up because I was spending the time with the patient. So I don't want to practice where I see 100 patients a day. We'll leave that to the ophthalmologist. And look what's happening to their market. so I want to be able to get to know my patient because family, you know, when you talk to a patient, take that time. So doctor-driven dispensing, your patients will love it, your staff will thank you for it because it makes their life easier. You know, because half their battle has already been won because of the doctor prescribing. So the second thing is digital eye strain, computer vision syndrome. We live in a world that we're straining every day, every one of our patients from, you know, 7 years, you know, how many patients do we have, the mom's having an eye exam and the 2-year-old is on an iPad keeping them quiet? You know, well, that's going to give eye strain. So we have to keep that market and prescribe accordingly. And multiple pairs of glasses because you need glasses. You need for every type of condition. So that is something that we're listening to our patients. And we own that and we need to continue to own it. We don't want to give that up to the box stores, to the chains, to online, because they're not going to take the time to educate. The third thing that I want to do, and I want to spend just a few minutes because this is probably one of the best things I've ever done in practice, is personal thank you notes. This is something that I truly believe has helped me to grow my practice, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and I'm going to explain it. At the end of the day, every exam I see, comprehensive eye exam, not follow-ups or all that other stuff, I send a personal thank you note to. And it's from my email, so it's not, you know, we have all the surveys that we all do. This is a personal thank you note. And what I do is in our software, you know, I just have to click their name and it sends an email to them. In the memo, I say personal thank you note. So they know what it is and they know it's from me. And then I send them and it's just thank you, real simplistic, and I cut and paste it. So it doesn't take long. But the secret, so that, you know, thank you for coming in, you know, it was wonderful seeing you. I add one sentence, what we talked about, where they went on vacation, you know, about their grandkids, about their, you know, something that we talked about in the exam that they know it's not a third party sending them a note. Then I ask them to Yelp me, or, you know, or rate me, Yelp me, Google me. And I have a wonderful Yelp review because the interesting thing, what that does is if they had a bad experience, they're gonna, when they see that, they're gonna say, because I'm asking for a personal thank you note, I'm sending, if they had something they didn't like, they'll email me right back. Or they'll contact me and I will pick up the phone and call them. And because I took the time, I've won them over. So it's rare I get, you know, a bad review, and if I do, you know, I will respond and find out why. But 99% of them, thank God, are, you know, fantastic. But what the bottom line, what this personal thank you note does is, one, it makes them realize we're family, that I'm doing something different. Two, if there's a problem, I can address it. Because the way in the world that we've always lived is you send them a recall in a year. In a year, they're like, God, something happened that I didn't like, so I'm not going to go back. I can't remember what it was. So you lost it. So by sending them personal thank you note that day, it's fresh on their mind. It makes it personal. So if there is a problem, again, you can satisfy it and figure it out and save that patient. The last thing that I never realized is I send it, and something that kind of a side note, I put my personal cell phone on that note. Because if they want to get a hold of me, I want them to be able to get a hold of me. And you know, I've been told many a time, why in the world would you give your personal cell phone out to a patient? They're not patients, they're family. Most of my family, yeah, I think all of my family now, has my cell, no, I'm kidding, because some you don't want to have. But, you know, our family has our cell phone number. So if they're not going to abuse it, because if they take the time to call you, there's a reason. And by having that personal thank you note, I'll get an email maybe 6 months later saying, hey, you know, I had a question on this. They reply from that. So they are keeping that and reminding them of me. Because that's how we're going to succeed and thrive in the future, is again making it personal. Thank
Yes,
you.
and Eric has actually written on this personal thank you note concept for us at Eyecare Business. So if you go to our website and you just type in the search bar thank you note, his column will pop up, which is fantastic, and it provides all that information.
And the template, what I say, because I want to share it, because we have to raise the bar. If we raise the bar, we're all going to succeed. So I don't have competition. I have colleagues. We are colleagues. So if there's anything you need, I would love to share it with you.
Including his cell phone number.
Yeah, it's on my website.
I'm learning so much from this panel. I took 3 pages of notes. Okay, because this is an optical retail strategy, and I would really like to give you guys action-specific items you can implement. Well, today's Friday, next Monday. Okay, so I have 3 as well. So number 1, write 3 prescriptions for every patient. What does that mean? So I wear contact lens. So for every contact lens patient, these are the 3 prescriptions. Plano anti-fatigue lens design with blue light protection. Hoya Zeiss Essilor, they all have it. They have similar class of product. And contact lens wearer needs a pair of full prescription transition eyewear. And every contact lens patient needs sunglasses. This is just my fashion sunglasses. We're not even talking about optical quality like Maui Jim, Costa Del Mar, and Xperio.
What was this one?
This is transition, everyday prescription transition. By the way, this is the brand new transitions with gold mirror. So if you see that gold hue. So Hoya has their own, Zeiss have their own. So whoever you do business with, ask for what their latest are. And tomorrow, if you come to the 1:30 lecture, I have a beautiful 1-page summary slide on the latest and the greatest from all 3 vendors. Every patient that wears glasses, same thing, minimum 3 pair of glasses. Why 3? All of us in the room, if you have a smartphone, raise your hand. All of us in the room, if you use a computer, raise your hand. Okay, all of us in the room, if you also have a tablet or a little small laptop you use, raise your hand. All 3 devices allow us to check email. Why do we need all 3? Think about it for a second. We're not going to type a 2-page Word document on the phone. We're going to use our computer. And when we play Candy Crush, we're not going to do it on the phone. It's too small. Computer is inconvenient, and we use tablet, right? All of us, including our patients, are using 3 devices every single day, simultaneously, many, many hours. So every glasses wear, same 3 pairs. Your everyday wear with the transition, because it's all about light management. Did you also know that the transition lenses have the highest blue light protection? It's a built-in protection. So that's a completely separate lecture. Okay, so this one I want to show you. This is the Verilux X with the silver mirror. See how clear it is? So all the transition technology today, the indoors, it's almost full clear. And every full glasses where many patients are looking at multiple monitors, very common, 2 monitors arms length away, right? So either single vision or computer progressives with full blue light protection. So this has preventing it. And also full prescription sunglasses. So number 1, starting Monday. So this is what we've learned. You write 1 prescription, 50% then take it somewhere else to shop. You write 2 prescriptions, it's very likely they will buy at least 1 from you. If you write 3, then the likelihood of them buying 2 from you, it increases more. Our capture rate is very high. And one of the secrets, it's actually no secret, we write 3 prescriptions for every single patient. Number 2, every contact lens patient that you see starting Monday, tell them about the benefit of the premium daily disposable contact lens. We have 4 major contact lens vendors. Teach them, show the patients what the premium contact lens experience is. It is the patient's job to decide how much they're willing to pay. It is our job as eye care professionals to teach them, to show them what the latest and the greatest is and what the benefits are. It is not our job to decide if the patient can afford it, if the insurance will cover or not. It is our job to fit them. Try that. We're at 81% daily disposable modality for our contact lens patients. Okay, number 3, social media. It's not just about we need to get on social media. We need to be engaging, and we need to be educational, and we need to have fun. So for just Vision Optique brand, so my practice called Vision Optique, on Facebook alone, I think we're over 11,000 followers. And on Instagram, I think we hit over, I was looking at earlier, about over 3,000. On my personal brand, at Dr. Bridgitte, same thing. Between the two brands, I believe we're easily over 30,000 followers. What does that mean? Patients in the chair. So come to my lecture tomorrow. I have actual analytics, and it's combined into my lecture, show you how to actually do it.
Thank you very much. Wow, so much great information. Thank you so much to all our panelists. We're going to open it up to questions in just a minute, but I'm going to close with a fun video from Georgetown Optician. And they're in Washington, D.C., and they do some really great marketing for their business with some super fun videos. So I'll just play this. It's only 2 minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions.
By 7, Isaac could perform an optical exam and read the eye chart backward. His fraternal twin sister Irene was also gifted in the ocular arts and taught the family dog Iris how to read without moving her lips. They spent their formative years up to their ears in eyeballs. This myopic focus on eyes came from their father Ivan, the son of a handsome optician and a short-sighted optical instruments heiress. When other kids turned up in pumpkin costumes, Isaac and Irene mesmerized as an optical illusion. While other children kicked footballs, Isaac rolled eyeballs. Irene and Isaac became great students of pupils. Irene once took glasses apart and reassembled them perfectly, blindfolded. The family's focus on glasses was undilated. They saw eyewear through a vastly different lens. They competed for the title Most Fashionable Friends in Family and joked that if eyes are the windows of the soul, then eyebrows are the drapes. Irene spent evenings polishing a collection of glasses and vowed never to make passes at boys who didn't wear them. And though no one ever agreed on who wore the glasses best, everyone saw eye to eye on the family motto: what you see through is infinitely more important than what you see. Georgetown Optician. Our family knows glasses.
All right.
Hey, Erinn, excuse me one second. Before we open up to questions, I just wanted to Bridget's last point about social media.
Yeah.
Sam's giving a terrific course at 1 o'clock in this room about utilizing social media to help increase your business. So obviously it's key. We talked a lot about it today, but I think you'll get a tremendous amount of great nuggets from Sam's talk at 1 o'clock in this room. So just FYI.
Great.
Also, Alessandro, maybe you remember, I think Luxottica in 2014 did a study about the amount of money that's walking out the door for prescriptions, and at that time, 4 years ago, it was close to $8 billion that has walked out the door. So I think the suggestions that you folks had today is just some of the great nuggets that you can capture a lot of that revenue that's walking out the door. So
Absolutely.
that's it.
Thank you. Good stuff. So we'll probably have about 10 minutes for questions if there are any remaining and you'd like to tap into these incredible minds that we have up here. Does anyone have any additional questions? Yes.
So Steve keeps mentioning the importance of data. So my question is for you, what data have you discovered that could be, is particularly intriguing to you that we all should be aware of that would help us?
So for me, data was, I had tons of data when I was at USP, which helped us really look at a number of different things from a product offering standpoint. So what data right now I think for a practice is most important is understanding about your customer and then the products in your office. There's the one that someone said, Essilor Expert is one tool. I know GPN is another tool, but it does analysis of the practice, and then it talks to you about what you're doing relative to the region that you're in those same categories, and then should give you information specifically about your patients. And then when you have that, your vendor should tell you, if your demographics break down like this, what products best serve those demographics. So, yeah.
That's great.
Hey, can I add something? So for all of us who use various office softwares, the two leading ones on the market, Steve mentioned Edge Pro. There's another one called Glimpse. So those are the two leading software data analysis. It gives like all the capture rate and all the data that you want to study per doctor's performance, per optician's performance, how you compare to the national average to the region. Those are the two, Edge and Glimpse.
That's very helpful. We've run some of that in Eyecare business. Yes, it's really insightful information.
Yes, no one else is raising it.
Go for
So,
it.
Ed, I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida, and I don't know if everybody knows, probably everybody does know about your stores, which are incredible. Could you just tell us, what is the average number of customers that you'll handle? Not take away the Disney one, that one doesn't count, but in the rest of the offices. And then what have you done? You talked on the panel about the last 5 years, something you've done different, something you've changed that's been a tremendous change for you in your stores.
So it's a complex question with the amount of people coming in. First of all, we're in some malls. There's a lot of traffic that comes in and out, and we try to capture as much as we can, but there's a lot of information gathering. I will tell you that in the Palm Beach area for us, those are great locations, and we have a great capture rate in those places. What have we done differently? We constantly are working on training, and we use our vendors to do it, be it a company like Matsuda or be it Luxottica. And the messages sometimes are very different from one group to the other, the way they're presented. The second thing is we spend a considerable amount of time right now on our website. So we're in our third website now in approximately a year and a half. It's just that the market just keeps on changing and moving forwards. Same thing with social media. We've gone through a brand new process approximately a year and a half ago. We rebranded the company, and we're trying to communicate to, at this point, to social media with two different groups of people, baby boomers and the millennials. Lastly, we're remodeling stores. They need to look as beautiful as we think they are. And we think they're all great, right? Because we did it 7 years ago. We are this year. We've done already 2 shops. We're actually reopening the one in Naples in another week. We did the one in South Miami, and we continue to go through the process in the coming years to fit more of that younger or the more present environment of a retail shop. Limiting the amount of product. I think we've heard that over and over again. What's the story that we're giving, right? What's on those displays? And we like to talk the high-end story. We like, for us, Maui Jim and a Ray-Ban also sits really at the bottom of the totem pole. But what's the story when they come in? What's the story? What's that feel they get when they come in? And how do we differ from a lens crafters that's literally in Palm Beach across from us? They're literally across from us. So it's a continuous probing. I don't think there's one item. I think it's just a question of running the business and continuing adjusting through the changing and the disruptive environment now. You can't sit back and just say, oh, well, you know, what I've been doing for the past 5 years is great. We have some things that haven't worked out, and sucks. All that money went out and didn't work out. Other ones have worked out wonderfully. So my recommendation is keep on trying, keep on experimenting, and these are so important. I think they're really the backbone of the company. Personal notes, we write them. We've been doing it for 38 years now, after every sale. People, in particularly this world that is digital, getting a written note of thank you very much. We appreciate you coming, the purchase of your eyeglasses. I think it's key. we try to keep it very personal. I think Dr. White hits it on the nail.
Do you handwrite it?
Yeah, our employees and Daniela counts the stamps that go out to make sure that they're sending out. What was that?
There's not a part of the world they could read it.
They couldn't read his writing.
Neither mine. So, kind of these are the takeaways, and it's a battle. It's a constant battle.
So you've said so many times, limit the number of frames. Tell us how many frames you have.
We deal with around 20 vendors, around 15 to 20 vendors. It depends the store. A store like Worth Avenue will probably have around 10 vendors in there, 12 vendors.
1,000 frames? 700?
Oh, no, less. So somewhere around between 700 to 1,000. That's, don't forget, we're talking about 1,000 square feet. So Naples right now, we're doing 700, 800 frames on probably a dispensing area of around 650 square feet.
We have another question over here.
Has anyone tried any interactive displays, where the customer's interacting with the digital device to learn more about eyewear?
So we have used a smart mirror, and it's interesting. Not every store it has worked that well. I think it has to do with feeling comfortable using the instrument. And the interesting thing with the smart mirror, and I'm not advertising it to go and get it tomorrow morning, but the point is we get a data from them, what store is using it, how they're using it. So at the end of the month, I can call the managers and say, well, have you been using this? Oh yeah, we use it almost every customer, and then you find out only it's been used 2 times. So that means they need to go to a training again, So I gotta call Bernie up and say, well, listen, will somebody show up? I need some help. It does help. It helps one of our most successful stores right here in Orlando and Melania that uses it. And I was just speaking with them about that yesterday. They're able to show the thickness of a lens. So you have a patient that comes in with a -5, a -6. You can show the difference, what it would look like in a CR39, a polycarb, a 167, 174. So I think it makes a difference. Being able to see what a transition lens quickly, and the way they do it's pretty fast, the way it works. Not to mention AR coatings, non-glare coatings. You can show how the hydrophobic works. You can actually see the drops. It looks so real, the drops running down on the lens. And I think people visually see these things, and they really, it gives them a sense of feeling it, using the full senses, as opposed to an optician trying to say, well, it's a non-glare coating, you're gonna see clearer. It's not very clear. So I highly recommend them, and we still, so that's one of the experiences that worked extremely well in certain stores, and in other ones we're still pushing it hard. So I hope to see you soon, Bernie.
Great, well
Next year at this meeting, we'll have more in terms of patient interaction, experience, technology. I think in a year's time, we'll have a few on the market.
Great, well thank you all for coming. I think we're about out of time, so appreciate all the questions.